Allora, ok. Dominic, Bruce. Hello. We already here. So this one has to work. Last time we had some problem with Dominic. I don't know what happened. But like he went out and I didn't bring with him the cell phone, so he wasn't able to do it. But yeah, right now we're here. Super Dominic Bruce, Scottish powerhouse. We are going to talk with him about what is going on right now in Copenhagen, because he lives down there in Copenhagen, up there in Copenhagen, and if he's able to go around and skate, yeah, and stuff like that. What is his job, and if there like any news. Oh, he's already here. Yes, please. Let's wait for a couple of minutes for the people to tune in. But yeah, this one is gonna be cool. How you guys are doing so far? Everything's fine? You wanna already start, Dom? Shall we? Like 2 more minutes and then we can start, right, Dom? 5 minutes? Perfect. I got you, bro. Like around 7 we can start this blading chat with him. As I was saying, tomorrow we are going to have Brian Aragon. On Sunday we are going to have Billy O'Neill, and on Monday we are going to have like, oh man, there are like so many people that we are going to have. So I'm so hyped for the Aragon one. And then next week we're gonna have like Brian Weiss and so on. So cool. I've texted Rashard Johnson to be here, like to make one of these played in chat, but unfortunately he told me that he's quite busy. Damn. I wish I was able to make one of these with him. And then I'm looking forward also to make one of these with Dave Payne. I saw him doing like one of those Instagram chat with John Julio the other day. Awesome, man. I'm glad to see like all of those people doing those stuff to keep the people entertained. What happened to my hair? Meanwhile, while we're waiting, I'm gonna put some video. Let's see, what should we... yeah, something from Dominic, of course. Damn, Dominic, that was hot. Earlier, I was watching this one, guys. If you haven't seen this one, man, man. So let's peep this one for a couple of minutes, and then we can start with our blading chat with Dominic Bruce. Dom, this one was unbelievable, man. Oh, that's crazy. Veramente, tia. Wow, this one is amazing, Dom. I love that one. Yes, sir. All right, I do think like right now we're able to start. Let me fix the phone right there. So happy about this one. Let's wait for Dominic to be connected.
Yo, what's up?
Finally, we made it.
Finally, after missing it last time.
Yeah, no problem, bro. Oh,
Nice to
dude,
see
look
you.
at that too easy cat, man.
Greg
Amazing
Too
cat.
Easy. Shout out
Yeah,
Greg.
represent.
Long Beach, Copenhagen. I'm here
So,
on my balcony.
really,
I put on
chilling.
the dressing gown for you.
Oh, thank you so much. I do really appreciate it, brother.
What's going
How's
on?
life? I mean, here, stuck at home. What about you?
To be honest, I would be telling a lie if I said I hadn't been out skating because I mean, I have been out skating. But I just came back from a session actually. I just been skating with David and a few friends here.
Oh,
Freddie,
great.
my roommate also skates. So we're keeping social distancing happen still. You know, we're not giving each other slap tap. We're just just elbows. But
But
the weather's
yeah,
been good
you guys
here.
went
I really
around.
got a little tan. You know.
Great. But like, what is what the government says in Denmark? Like, are they like saying to the people to stay at home as much as possible, or like they are
Yeah.
telling you
So
guys, hey,
right now in Denmark, we're 5 weeks deep into the lockdown, and
mm-hmm,
it kind of progressed slowly. To begin with, it was just schools closed, and then it was like hairdressers and tattoo shops and stuff like that until it was pretty much everything except from takeaway restaurants were still allowed to be open, and the same with
mm-hmm,
supermarkets, but you're only a few people at a time in those places. Um, and now this is Denmark's actually one of the countries that's come around quickest in the sense that now they're already putting people back to school, but in small numbers.
oh,
Because
really?
I think they're allowing the kids to. I mean, they don't want the kids to get it, but some amount of the population has to kind of get it, because then there's this herd immunity. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, I've been off work for 5 weeks.
Wow.
I got paid for only 2 of them because I'm like substitute work, so I only get paid when I work. Um,
Oh, really?
yeah, and I covered for a guy who just had a kid for 2 weeks, but then after that I haven't been paid. So I hope now that the schools are going back, hopefully I can work in the next few weeks.
Like, isn't it the Danish government help you guys or something like that within some checks or anything like that?
There could be the possibility of like unemployment money for some people, and like for example
Mm-hmm.
students. students are doing work from home, and they're getting paid this in Denmark. You know, you get paid to study because of the crazy country it is. You get this thing called SU, which is money from the government for you to study. Instead of you having to pay the government, it's free education, and then you get money to study.
No way.
But I'm not a student, so I'm not getting SU, and I don't actually know, because I'm an immigrant to Denmark, because it's not my home country. I don't know if I can get unemployment money. I actually have to look into that, because I know that there's something called an A-CASA here, and it's a little bit like a union. And if you pay into it a certain amount of time, then when you're not working, then you get paid. It's kind of like for freelance artists and filmmakers and whatever.
Oh, great.
But in my situation, I got paid for the first 2 weeks. And then I was lucky, because this timing is when you get your holiday money from the last year. So I just got enough money to survive for a little bit with holiday money. That was nice.
Luckily, awesome.
Very luckily. And I live cheap. I mean, I try to live as cheap as possible, because then I can save up my money for when opportunities arise, like blade trips, and then when I go on those, I can just let the cash fly.
Puff Daddy style. Boss life.
Yes, please.
So listen, and which are the differences between like Copenhagen and Scotland in general?
General differences. I'm still figuring those out, actually. That's still part of my day-to-day life. I don't know if I've got the total answer yet. Maybe we'll have to do one of these in 5 years. But hoping that I'm still here. But I mean, the general differences would be, I'd say the upbringing, the raising of children in Denmark is much different. And obviously the way that society or a country raises its children generally changes the way that people interact in that society as they grow up. And I think that, for example, if I want to relate it to the times in Corona, the way that Denmark has been like respectful of that okay, there's not everyone's respecting it, but generally I felt like it was respected quite well. And I think there is I feel like people trust the government in Denmark more than in other countries. There's a lot of countries where trust for the government is really
doesn't exist.
It's not there. Take a country like America, for example, and you have a president like Donald Trump. It's kind of hard to foster any trust about that president and that government. But in Denmark, the way this is, I think people feel like they have a voice and they have the ability to shape democracy or whatever.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's not for. I can't say I speak for everyone, because for sure there's resistances and there's people who don't agree with the way Denmark deals with many things like immigration and these sorts of things, because Denmark still has camps for refugees. Denmark, there's often graffiti in the streets that says close the camps, because a lot of people don't agree with the holding of refugees in these camps, because they're not given the proper living conditions that could provide sort of comfort or safety when you've come from a country that maybe was with a war, or maybe you're a sexual refugee because of your sexuality and the way that your country views that, you had to run away or whatever. But but generally the differences between, I don't know if I'm actually answering the question, but the differences between Scotland and Denmark, I would say, would very much be in the way we raise children. That would be quite one I would highlight. Another one would be in the balance between work life and free time, and the way that the sort of the relationship the general population have to work life and free time. Also, education is a big difference, because in Scotland we have free education, whereas you don't in England, even though we're all part of the UK. And in Denmark, you go to high school until you're around 19, 20 years old. So my girlfriend, she finished, Clara, she finished high school, or our equivalent to high school, when she was 20. And I finished when I was 15, just before I turned 16. So, I mean, I dropped out. I didn't go for the whole thing, but still, it's just a funny difference there. And then people generally study until they're in their late 20s or early 30s here, and that's seen as normal. Whereas I know from where I'm from in Scotland, if somebody was still studying when they were 30, you would think that they were just using it as an excuse to not get on with life. And like you staying in academia, you don't stay in academia that long in the UK unless you're going to become an academic and work in a university and such.
It's the same thing here in Italy. Like the people who are like staying the most, like until like their 30s or something like that in school, we are thinking that like they are staying there just to waste their time, or just because they don't want
Yeah,
to go
just
work or something like
hide in the books or something.
that. Exactly.
And
But
that's
like,
not a belief. That's not a belief I hold. I don't think that about everyone who goes to university. But I know that there is a general stigma towards someone who would attend
stigma.
university. And here, I think people would, if you said you were still studying, people would be like, "Oh, great," you know, it would be received so differently. And man, I could really go into the differences. I feel like it would take me some time, but there's definitely so many differences to pick at. They're very subtle ones, and also larger ones that are way more obvious.
And work-wise, like, is it hard to find a job in Denmark?
Well, I was quite fortunate and lucky because when I moved to Denmark, my girlfriend was working in this what's called the Fritters Club, which is what would be translated to like an after-school club, and she was working there, and she actually has a family relative who's working there too, and they helped me out with getting my visa because in order to get a visa, you have to show that you have a job, and
Okay.
you have to have found a job and a way to get into the country. So I was able to use that to help me get in there and get my temporary, what's called a CPR number, which is your temporary work permit. So that's
Okay.
what I have here in Denmark. I have a working permit, and as somebody from the European Union, I can be in Denmark if I want to, but I can't earn money legally unless I have this work permit.
Okay. Okay.
And yeah, I got helped out, and I still work at the same place that I started working at when I moved here, which is this after-school club. During my time here, before I was able to get the official residency, I was doing like cash in hand work, you know, untaxed money, like working for a company that helps put stages up,
Okay.
you know, for concerts and stuff. And then I've worked in a bar before just to get some extra cash, and I do skate lessons also here privately.
And how are you still doing it, those skate classes?
Yeah, I've paused it during Corona because I think it would be seen as irresponsible because of the groups I have. But yeah, I'm still doing that, and I'm still enjoying it.
Awesome. Awesome. And like, where are you bringing to the kids, like, where are you bringing those kids skating? In skate parks in general, or like also in the streets to skate some ledges and stuff like that?
It changes, and I feel it becomes harder and harder to keep their attention because as they get better, I want to be able to stimulate that growth in new ways with different spots and stuff. And sometimes, out of necessity, we have this place called Game, which is just like a basketball street sports space, and we have some ramps in there. We can move around like grind boxes and stuff. Other times we go to, because you know it's free to go there for them. They just have to sign up for a year, and that's like 30 euros for the whole year, and then they don't have to pay every time, you know.
Awesome.
And then sometimes we go to like a skate park you have to pay to go into, but I don't really like to do that so much because they're paying me to have the lesson, so I don't want them to have to pay to go into the skate park on top of that, you know. But then when the good weather comes, like it is now, the sun's started to arrive, then after Corona, I'm definitely going to be taking them street skating because that's where I find most joy, and it's obviously the fact that it's free is nice. And
yeah, I remember the video that you posted last year of this kid doing soul grind on those red down rails in front of the swimming pool.
Yeah.
Man, that was pretty cool, huh?
That was their first handrail, and then after that, that was like last year around this time, and that was quite an incredible period to watch because those two just go at each other, you know, and it's August and Yebe. That's their names, August and Yebe, and they really hype each other up, and it's like a friendly competition. But you know, they were giving each other slap tap at the top of the rail, and once one of them did it, both of them did it, and then they got that feeling, and they started just being like, let's go to rails. I want to go to rails. And so I took them to like five different rails, and they soul grind like 5 different rails. You maybe seen the other video where they also grind this kind of like half moon rail underneath that's so cool. And it was inspiring to watch them get their first handrails.
Damn, that's amazing. That's pretty cool.
Hi,
Listen,
Queenie.
hi Queenie, about Scotland, about Queenie as well. Yesterday I was talking with Chaz, and we chatted a little bit about the origin of the blading scene up there in Scotland, which is like unbelievable. Like I've seen this video called Hidden Forces,
Yeah,
and they were like the scene back then was crazy, like
that's
crazy
like
good.
a
Like
young Ollie Short.
exactly, young Ollie Shore with baggy clothes, Chris Doty, Alan Dick, and Chaz, of course, and stuff like that. And like,
You know Alan
what
Dick?
was your
That's so sick. Alan was
yeah,
also, Alan was more recently shown in like the Vine Street video because he
Vine
moved to
Street?
Australia.
But I remember him from clip one and clip two. He was featured with some clips in
He's
clip one and clip two.
Alan Dick is probably the biggest legend from where I'm from in Scotland because
Because you're from Aberdeen.
I wasn't really around to meet him. He was kind of he'd already moved to Australia by the time I was hanging out with the local scene in Aberdeen. But he's got an enigma, he's the sort of person in Aberdeen that you walk the spots and there's always an Alan, somebody's like, Alan did sweat stance on this, or Alan did Trumazoo on this, or Alan fakey backflip this stair set or something. And I actually do have one memory of Alan, or two even. And one time I rocked up to a skate park that's in between where I live in Aberdeen, and he was just there hanging out, spray painting and skating. And I didn't go over and speak to them because I was a little bit starstruck. And then another time I remember there was like a competition held in Aberdeen that we called, I think it was the Razors Highland Roll. It was like a Razors skate comp. And I was young at the time, but I remember Alan doing a fakey backflip down the bank.
Oh my goodness.
And he used to have these Salomons with shadow sole plates on them, I'm pretty sure. He had these modded skates that I'd never seen before. And, but yeah, so I'm from the northeast of Scotland, and I'd say Alan Dick holds one of the biggest legacies there. But I also grew up skating with guys like Graham Forbes, who Gammy, and Lewis Bowden, Steve Watt, Stu. Yeah, the list goes on, and I don't want to miss people's names out, so I don't want to start naming names, but they know who they are.
No, true, definitely. And they're all like incredible skater. And like, yeah, but with that being said, like, what does it mean to you to like, growing up within like all of these people like skating before you and like creating this hype on Scotland? Because yeah, just like we were saying, Alan Dick was like doing tricky backflip down the stairs. Chris Doty was doing like a big down rail with United topsail, or Grammy's like doing disaster truth up and stuff like that. How was like the feeling for you to like growing up in this scene?
So Chris Doughty, he's another legend from Scotland because he obviously used to film with Ollie a lot and was one of the UK legends. But I also missed his sort of period of skating, and I'm kind of glad I did because I used to hear that he used to like when he was out filming with somebody, he would like take them to the most heavy spot and then just like break you down to do the spot. The person's almost in tears. You know what I mean? I know that there's a general thing in I remember something in the Scottish skate community growing up is that kind of feeling that if you didn't do a trick, you were a pussy or you were like gay or something, and there was that kind of like so ridiculous. But at the same time, like the influence that the place I grew up in, the influence I had on my skating was definitely like trick selections and stuff like that. Like I'm from a small town called Stonehaven, which is 20 minutes from Aberdeen. And there was maybe 2 or 3 people rollerblading there when I grew up. And there was I grew up with a friend skating called Aaron, and then there was a guy at my school called Jamie. And they were around my age, but I pretty much grew up in the skate park. I grew up in Transition Extreme. I've got a few edits from there when I was younger. You maybe have know the one. But I used to get dropped off there every single day. I mean, I don't have anything to show from school because all I focused on was blading when I was younger. I don't have any good grades because I used to just be waiting to the moment I got out of school to go straight to transition and just let all my thoughts out and just forget about even going to school and just skating. And it would be with people my age, and also these older guys would show up, and I would always be quite like admire them. And then I got to an age of like 14 actually, and I remember one day Lewis and Gammy came to that skate park. And I wasn't allowed to go street skating. My mom and dad told me, stay at the skate park and I'll pick you up later because it was like a safe place to be, And
True.
Lewis and I said, come on. And they like snuck me out of the skate park. And I told them, but you have to take me home for 4 because I could just see it going wrong. And they took me out and we filmed some street clips. I remember they took me to this gap and I was so scared to get hurt because then I would phone my parents and tell them that I was street skating, But it went well. And from there on, I started to session with them and go out on some street sessions more. And I did my first handrail, I think, when I was 15 in their presence. And
Oh my goodness.
yeah, I mean, I'm very grateful to have grown up skating with the people I grew up skating with, and they've, you know, I still have a great appreciation for their skating and skating with them. So when it's so nice to
Great.
see them. Now that I live in Denmark, I don't get to see them so often, but it's so nice to see them in at winterclash or when I go home and have a little session and just touch back in with them.
Great. And yeah, so talking about that, we do have like a couple of questions. One is like from the Scottish scene. Mark is asking favorite ever Scottish blader. That's a tough
Favorite
one, I
ever
would say.
Scottish blader. Favorite ever Scottish blader. That's a hard one.
Exactly, right?
Also, just because I can't really think of them all. And I feel like I can't say one of my friends. I feel like I have to say somebody who's not one of my friends. Just biased. Dave Thomas was an incredible skater style-wise. Dave Thomas was another guy out of Aberdeen, and he did like a 1080 way back, like in 2000 or something. He did a 1080 on a quarter pipe. Like there's a clip
Oh
you can
yeah,
find on YouTube that's him doing a 1080.
I've seen it. The video's called what's it called, dude? I've seen it this morning because Bruce, a guy,
Yeah,
he just
Bruce Finley.
exactly, and he was the same guy on the Hidden Forces who 180. That's the stairs, and his arm, like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know what
that's him.
happened. Like,
That's the worst fall when he gets caught up in the rail. Oh,
dude, I was so scared when I saw that clip. I was like, no way.
I
Okay,
think Dave
so.
Thomas is one of my favorite skaters. I think for what Alan Dick achieved in Scotland and the kind of you could say the fingerprints and the print he left on the local scene, and obviously
Mhm.
because I would walk around Aberdeen and come to spots and I would know what he's done there. It created a certain sort of respect for his skating. Quinny, of course, I'm like biased there because he's one of my great friends, but like Quinny is an incredible skater. Like, and I mean, you can't deny obviously the sort of the one everyone knows, Chaz. You can't deny the sort of technical ability Chaz has and what he's done for skating and putting Scotland on the map in terms of like rollerblading. Um,
He was the very first Scottish to have received like a pro model, right? Did he?
that's probably true. I've not done my homework. I was at the skate park.
So hey, Bruce is here, and
Yo,
we have another question for Joy from Joy Egan. He says, "What's your best achievement in skating so far?" That's another tough one, huh?
meeting my girlfriend.
Oh, awesome! That's sweet. Where did you meet her? Where did you meet
Ross,
Clara?
Roskilde Festival.
Great, great. That's pretty sweet from you. And how was it? Like, I never been to Roskilde. Even if like Yo-Yo invited me like 2 or 3 times, I never get the chance to go there. Like, how was the energy of the Roskilde? How was skating within like the crowd of thousands of people watching you skating?
Just to say, Roskilde Corona-related Roskilde thing. It's for the first time since 1971. It isn't happening this year. That's crazy.
Damn.
But I've been going since 2014. I first went there while on the Haitian Resurrection tour with those
Hmm.
gypsy crazy folks. I was 16 at the time, and that was like my first ever festival. Like 150,000 people in attendance
My
for 7
goodness.
days long.
Damn.
That stretched my mind. My mind got pulled open a little bit. Uh, at the time, it's funny, you know. There's these Facebook memories you get, you know, like one day I clicked on one and I wrote, "Wow, Roskilde is amazing. So many babes." I can't believe I wrote that. It's 16-year-old me was just loving it. But obviously, they've got a host of musicians that are just like all the ones you want to see, and there's lots of different like small bands and small stages that have some music you wouldn't usually hear. But just the whole energy there is really special, and it's. I've only been to one other festival called Heartland in Denmark, and it's like for 3 days, and it's the only thing I have to compare. But the fact that Roskilde is like 9 nights actually by the time you stay over,
Mamma
it's like
mia.
a week living in a tent at this festival is quite you can't really find another thing like it. I mean,
Looks like.
you probably could, but I've not found another thing like it, and it's
No, man. The
very
energy
exciting.
they can fit it through the videos is amazing.
My mom just tried to face.
I got you. You have lost the contact with Dom?
It fucks
Yeah.
up.
No.
Yo, I'm
No,
here.
no problem, no
It
problem.
fucked up because my mom
Great.
tried to FaceTime me. I hope she doesn't do it again.
Oh my god. Dude, I don't want to steal your time, huh?
My mom's gonna. She keeps on trying to FaceTime me, and I have to cancel it. And my
So
roommate
like,
just came home.
yeah, what's up?
Yo, he's been out
Woohoo!
blading too. We were blading together.
Damn, that's awesome.
He got a clip.
Awesome.
He got his
Awesome.
first ever clip today. Like he's never ever got like a proper clip, and he got a clip for David today. I'm
No
not gonna ruin
way.
it. I'm not gonna ruin it for you guys. You're gonna watch the video maybe.
Maybe, but maybe, dude, I really can't wait to see it. And like, yeah. So with that being said, like you've been travel like in a lot of different places, and like from South America to, of course, United States, and then all over the Europe. This one might be like a tough one. Which is like one of the most memorable places you've been to?
Peru was obviously off the charts because it was just so different to what I'm used to in terms of a cultural experience. Like culturally, going a place like Peru, especially where we went in Peru, the altitude, the the spots we were met with, and the reception our blading had, or the reception our blading got from the people there, was quite impactful because it wasn't, you know, there's a lot of the countries you visit are familiar with rollerblading, or they've seen rollerblading in some form because it's in Europe or America or something. And although they've maybe not seen somebody rollerblade like that, they've seen rollerblades before and they probably know of the existence of a rollerblade. Whereas I felt like in Peru, it was seriously something like they'd never seen before. And it was,
Wow.
and you know, we were like, I think 3,600 meters above sea level.
So I guess it was like quite tough to skate, right?
Yeah, it was. I mean, to begin with, I arrived one day before everyone else, and you get altitude sickness, and I had like felt like my brain was touching my skull, like pressing against it. It felt so, you know, there was a lot of pressure because not enough oxygen, and then in the local remedy and what's seen as the local medicine is chewing cocoa leaves or making tea with cocoa leaves, which is what you make the cocaine plant obviously from. But I mean, you need 60 grams of cocoa leaves to make 1 gram of cocaine. So it's not like you're walking
Okay.
around all wired up. It helps with the sort of symptoms of altitude sickness.
The
But
pressure in the brain and stuff.
yeah, but definitely like when you've done 3 tries of something at a skate spot, it felt like you'd done 20 tries and you felt like you were on the end of your, you know, sort of efforts. And when you were walking back up the stairs, you know, you would just feel like, oh, I can't do it anymore. But you know, it worked out, and you adapt to it. You know, after 4 days or something, you're feeling more used to it. But Bina, he was the one who kind of organized the trip, and he got us an Airbnb, and like where we were was in a valley, you know, so it was like that on either side, and like the city's down here in the middle. And we had this Airbnb right at the top of the valley. So every day we'd go down into the valley for breakfast and then skate like up and down the valley, kind of finding spots. And then at the end of the day, first few days, we walked all the way back up to the
Oh
apartment, and we
my
were like,
goodness.
fuck. But then we found out how cheap it was to get a taxi to the top. So once we found out how to pronounce the name of where we lived in Spanish, we were just getting taxis.
All the way to the top.
Yeah.
So Peru
Yeah,
was
I
like
think
one
I
of.
would answer your question. I think I would answer your question that Peru was probably the most eye-opening place to go skate-wise. But there's been some other places that I've gone to that have been the most like nostalgic, or they've matched up with memories, or they've matched up with you know, you spend your younger years in blading watching videos and admiring these people you see in the videos doing certain tricks on certain spots. And to find yourself one day at these spots, looking at these spots that you've seen people do certain tricks on, is quite a special feeling. I think it's kind of maybe like an art, somebody who's looked at a Picasso piece in a book finally standing in front of the original piece in the gallery or something like that, or at the artist's home or something. It's like because some spots you see someone do a trick and you're not able to acknowledge the true like skill of the trick or whatever, or how crazy the trick was, because you've not been to the spot. But once you go to a spot, it really puts it into perspective sometimes and can blow your mind.
Great. We do have a question from Queenie, actually from Carolina, and she asked, "How has your skating evolved since moving to Copenhagen?"
I like that question. It's a good question. That's Carolina. Not for someone not being a blader. That's a nice question. I think that my skating has actually evolved quite a lot since moving here, and I can see that in my own skating. Like I can witness it in my own skating and the way that I've come to feel about blading. I think generally, I don't know if it's just because of moving to Copenhagen or if it's because of my age, because I don't know if I was living somewhere else, if I would feel this way as well. Because I think that I'm now 22 and, you know, my body is kind of like gone through its full development and I'm like feeling pretty strong in my like skates. And, you know, that helps you to feel more confident in certain tricks and just your approach. You know, you can come on a lot stronger in your approach because you know what you're capable of. And that can help you to push your skating when you know what you're working with, like in terms of your. But also, I think that I would say that being around the people I've been around here has been the biggest influence, and the architecture and the vibe of Copenhagen as a city, what there is, the people and the way it feels to be out in the streets with a crew, and yeah, the way that the city's designed. That kind of I feel really hands itself to skating. But you know, filming with David has been one of the most transformational things for me in terms of the way I perceive my skating, because David is an absolute perfectionist and an artist and just a genius with what he does on skates and off skates. The way he can use the fisheye and the way he films is something I really have always admired. And I've known David for years, but I haven't been able to call him my friend until I moved to Copenhagen. And I really think since moving to Copenhagen, being able to call him my friend and work together with him to try to bring out the best in my skating I can't really say, I can't put into words how much that's been able to help me, because you know, him just saying one more, hey, try this, why don't we maybe figure this out or drop that, or it's helped me to critique my skating in a new way and also just let it flow and come out in a different way. So obviously Quinny living here is also amazing too, because he's also from Scotland. We can share that, like we both know we're from the same place with a certain humor, and we can comment on what it's like to be somebody who's not from Denmark living in Denmark in a funny way. And, you know, all the locals here who maybe some of them are in this chat, I don't know, but like Freddie, Pale, Christian, and the list goes on. I'm not gonna, like, once again, I'm not gonna start saying names because I miss people out, but you all know who you are, and you've just been a big influence in my time here in Copenhagen so far. I mean, this June I've been living here for 3 years.
Wow.
It's so crazy, man.
Dude, like
Moved here when I was 19.
damn, I loved Copenhagen, man. Like when we met there last summer at the Blade Days, man. Like I never felt like move to another country, because I do love my country. You know, like Italy for me, it's the best place to be. But like when I went in
That's very
Copenhagen,
Italian of you to say.
but then like when I went to Copenhagen, man, again, just like you were saying, the respect that the government has for, you know, for the mothers, or like for the parents in general, how the city looks like and how it has been developed within the water architecture and stuff like that. It made me think, man, like maybe I could move down up there in Copenhagen one day because it looks like a really cool place to go.
I think,
And
yeah.
no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think that it's really interesting with Denmark, the way I feel it functions when you're out in the streets and when you live here for a certain amount of time and you start to know your way around the city, and you start to notice people in the streets, and they're not your friends, but you see the same people in the same places and all that. In that way, it functions like a town. It's like it's got this feeling of being small, even though it's one of the major European cities and it's on the tourist map, and it's like known for its design and known for certain things. And Denmark's quite famous in terms of European countries. It's still got this smallness, and I feel like it doesn't get out of hand for me. Like I feel like I have it in my hand, kind of, if that makes sense. I feel like I'm able to get
Yeah.
close to Copenhagen and get to know it and have a personal relationship with this city and the people that live here and everything. And I think that's quite a special thing here. And it's something that I haven't found or been able to feel in the same way in other cities, in other countries in Europe. There is sure places that I'm sure could give you the same feeling and have that sort of contact where you can feel like you're in contact with the place you live. But some places are definitely like a city like London. It's just a bewildering
Massive.
amount. Yeah, massive. And just like even in Copenhagen, you can cross the whole city in 30 minutes on a bicycle and get anywhere, and you feel like you're able to just go around. And if your friend said he was on the other side of the city, you wouldn't think like that's stressful. You don't have to go there on metro. You can just cycle over there. And if in London, if somebody's living on another suburb, it's like, it's a world away.
I'll see you next year.
Yeah.
So like we do have like a question from Bruce. I do think this one is also like a tough one. Bruce says, I remember you went through a phase of looking for recommendation for old videos, media to watch. Was there any video you came across from before you started that blew your mind, and why?
To be honest, the video Hidden Forces I'd never seen before. It kind of came to me as a surprise because it was spots I knew. There was spots in there that I've been to and stuff, and I didn't even know there was a history of people skating those spots. I didn't even know that spot had been skated before. Also, maybe there's some spots that back in the day used to be this spot, but by the time I started blading, people were already bored of it. So when I found that spot, I thought it was like a new spot because I've never seen someone skating it. But then maybe it's actually got like a whole history before I even came into blading. So I'd say Hidden Forces was a good one. I also really enjoyed the early VG videos because I hadn't seen them before. And I think that Arlo Eisenberg is one of the most eloquently spoken people about rollerblading there has been almost. I think he's definitely in the top 10 of, or even maybe 5 of, in terms of how he was able to speak about blading and describe what rollerblading as a culture, as an act, as a sport, as a practice, or whatever you want to call it. The way he was able to like articulate that and put it into words and kind of to help other people understand what it's maybe like to be in the community of like rollerblading or whatever.
Awesome. That's pretty cool. So like with that being said, like there are like 2 questions, but like I do think like this one might be like needs like more than like all of this time. Like what does it mean? Because like what I remember like watching you skating at the winterclash. I've been there like for 14th time. Like this year was my 14th winterclash. So I actually saw you like growing up through the years at the winterclash. And I always see you within like this super amount of energy and super passion about skating. And like, what does it mean to you, the word blading?
Like everything. I mean, I mean, rollerblading is like really all in a lot of ways. I don't feel, this is not me saying this in a way that I feel like sad about this or that it makes me feel trapped in any sense. But in a way, rollerblading is everything to me at this current period in my life, and up until now, it has been like a journey I've been on. And I didn't really focus at school, and I found skating when I was 8 years old, and I'd never stuck with anything. I used to I tried everything. I tried swimming. I was in the swimming club. I tried rugby, football, blah 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 blah. All the list goes on. My mom and dad tried everything, and when I tried skating, it just stuck, and I just caught on the wheel, and I just kept on turning and turning, and I'm like, I've still started skating until now. And as I've got older and started started to think about what I want in my life truly, and what values I have, and the person I want to be, or the things I want to do, then blading comes in more and more and sinks in stronger, like deeper and deeper, really. And I have a great like appreciation for what the places rollerblading take me, and as a it's my means of creativity. It's my main source of expression, really, beyond speaking. um, but I'm always on the lookout for other things to come about. I'm always on the lookout for things that are more than blading. I always try to imagine myself as something more than a rollerblader. But it seems to be that I can never find myself able to do anything other than just be a blader at the moment, really. So, like,
I mean, that's cool.
yeah, and I mean, I don't have an education at the moment. I don't like study, and I just work my job just so I have money. But really, all my focus and all my thinking time and my research and even goes into blading. At the moment, this whole quarantine, I've bladed almost every day. The whole quarantine, I blade all the time. I've been blading a lot.
Damn, lucky you.
My roommate is my roommate's also he moved in at the start of March, and he also blades. And now we've got this little blade house going, and I hope we're gonna make some projects together and like start to film some videos and stuff. And yeah, I mean, I think rollerblading is one of the I'm gonna start saying something cheesy like rollerblading is one of the best things in the world.
No, but like what you said, like already says a lot. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
I mean, I
And like
think
we
it
did.
kind of speaks for itself. The fact that I'm still rollerblading this after this long suggests what it means to me. You know, I'm gonna keep on doing it. I'm not gonna be. This is not my final. This blading chat isn't my like goodbye or anything.
Come on. So hey, we got like one last question for our good friend Greg from Long Beach, Copenhagen. He says like in Malta, that drop to roll was the scariest trick I ever seen in person. Do you think that's still on your top tricks you've done?
Definitely, that one was a scary one, but at the same time, I felt like it was right there, and I could see it, and I perceived it, and I could see that it was possible, and I dropped off it first without rolling towards it and gapping over, and I felt like I had it, and I just felt focused and did it, and so that one came with less danger because I didn't think about the danger. I just felt like I had it. But actually one of the scariest tricks I've ever done, especially that I've ever done in the last few years and recently, was the disaster topsail I did in. Maybe some people haven't seen that yet, but Greg actually posted a clip of it on Instagram. The one that I did in Tenerife, dude, that was the scariest shit ever. I was looking at that. I was standing looking at that rail, and I was just thinking, like, it was the last day of the trip, and I was just thinking, like, either I've got this, or I really am gonna fuck myself up. Like, I had to really like I had it, because I could only imagine really two options. It was either that I landed it first try, or a disaster splitted the rail and then was going so fast that I would get sent to the floor and crack like an egg. And it was so hot that I would probably start sizzling, you know. But I did it, and that was some scary shit. And I was almost stressed afterwards. Like for an hour afterwards in the car, I was like feeling anxious, almost like.
Dude, that was unbelievable.
It's not something I do every day.
Dude, and Mark and Bina, they cut it and film it like in a perfect way. So
yeah, it was nice. It was the crew was smaller at that point, but that was like in terms of chasing after a feeling, that was a pretty strong rush. But I mean, I don't usually like to gamble with so many so high. I don't usually like to put so many chips on the table. I usually just kind of, I don't not play it safe, but I mean, I don't feel the need to jump off roofs to feel satisfaction in rollerblading. But I just felt it there, and the energy was right, and I seen the trick. I went down the street while they were filming another trick, and I was bored of the spot they were skating, and I went down the back to get a snack from like the bakery or something, and I seen this spot, and I was like, oh. Yeah. And then then I said, there's a certain feeling that comes when you tell the crew, you go back and tell the crew that you found a spot. It puts the pressure on, because that's you telling them, that's you telling them that you've seen something, and like if they don't want to do it, you're obviously saying that you want to do it. So it's a little bit like, but we got there and they were kind of looking at the spot, and Bino was like, if you don't want to do it, like you like only do it if you really feel it, because they weren't pushing me. They were almost like trying to like be like, just make sure you feel like you want this one, because it could obviously, the coin could land two ways. But yeah, I'd say that one was probably the scariest.
Yeah, and the one was crazy. So Dom, with that being said, it's already like 45 minutes.
Have
So
we
I
been
do
speaking for
really,
45 minutes?
yeah, man.
I
Time
could just
flies
go
when
on.
you're having fun, huh?
Dude, I could just go on speaking, man. I was almost nervous before you started calling me, because I was sitting here and I was like, because I missed the last one, I was like,
Oh. No, it's all good, dog. Thank you so
it's
much for your
cool.
time.
I just
It's
want to
been like a
say that
great chat.
cool. It's cool what you're doing here, Jason, and I think you should keep
Oh,
on doing it beyond quarantine. And maybe you're going to be more busy with work, and you probably aren't going to be able to give, I don't know, 45 minutes a day. But I think it's
thank you so
cool.
much.
It's nice to see your smiley face on the screen often.
No,
Jason
no, thank you so much.
hosted me in his house before, and he's a lovely guest. He's a lovely host.
So like I'm looking forward to see you here again, huh? You have to
Yeah,
come back here.
when the quarantine's over, maybe we can get a little pizza trip going.
Dude.
Come and eat
I,
some
I
gnocchi.
I was planning actually to come up there with Federica and maybe Gabriel in Copenhagen. But yeah, we will see what is going on with this
Bring Gabriel. That
uh
would be cool. Gabriel's brother is a really good skater. He's got a
oh,
very nice style. And Jason's obviously a very good skater too. No,
thank you so much, Dominic. Do I really appreciate it, all the things that you said. So, Bombers, thank you so much. Peace.
bombers,
Say hi
bombers.
to Clara, and I'm looking forward to see you soon. Okay?
Yeah, stay safe. Say hi to Frederica and give the cats a little.
They're sleeping, of course. Thank you so
Peace.
much, Dom. Peace. Ciao.
Bella.